Welcome.
Hey, hey, hey.
We are here today because we have to be. When the principles of our democracy that we have lived under for 250 years are being threatened, we do not have a choice but to defend our democracy. Am I right?
Yes.
Just because the governor and the legislature and the Indiana Commission on Higher Education and President Pamela Whitten have decided to kowtow to a dictator in Washington who wants to forego our rights and our democracy so that he can keep hold of his own power. Just because they have chosen to do that does not in any way, what that does is say it is time for us to stand up and defend our democracy.
Yeah.
So we do that today. The right of free speech is guaranteed in the First Amendment. The right to vote is guaranteed in the 14th Amendment and in the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Seeking to give Donald Trump what he wants does not invalidate the First Amendment. It does not invalidate the 14th Amendment. And we are here to say that today. We'll have 4 speakers up here talking to us about it, about different aspects of that, and I'll introduce each of them in turn. Our first speaker today is Professor David Robinson. He is currently David McDonald.
He's a basketball player.
Yeah, he'd have to grow a little bit in height to be a basketball player, I guess. But Professor McDonald is president of the IUB chapter of AAUP, and he will be reading an AAUP statement on the Indiana Commission on Higher Education and Chicago principles.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming out. It's actually quite nice out right now. Isn't this great? It's been nice. It's been all week. So, as president of the AAUP, the IUB chapter of the AAUP, I'm speaking today on behalf of our executive committee, which has penned this statement regarding not only the Indiana Commission on Higher Education's recent American values requirements, but also the Chicago principles, which have now been proposed by our administrators. It reads like this: the IUB chapter of the AUP, representing hundreds of faculty, write this statement to express strong concern over 2 developments regarding academic freedom, free speech, and governmental overreach. First, we call on Chancellor David Reingold and President Pamela Whitten to provide solid evidence that they intend to act in accordance with the Chicago principles, which they recently endorsed publicly. The principles explicitly state this, quote, "Because the university is committed to free and open inquiry in all matters, it guarantees all members of the university committee to the broadest possible latitude to speak, write, listen, challenge, and learn, except insofar as the limitations on that freedom are necessary to the functioning of the university," end quote. However, this administration has consistently failed to act in accordance with principles of free speech and institutional neutrality. As the November 18th meeting of the Bloomington Faculty Council, Chancellor Reingold said of the Chicago principles, "I truly feel this has the makings of an incredibly positive moment, but it may require us to level some doubt, mistrust, frustration, anger, and in some cases, and perhaps learned helplessness," as we call faculty in their actions. Faculty, staff, and students, end quote. Faculty, staff, and students need to question whether this embrace of the Chicago principles is a good faith attempt to improve our tarnished reputation, or simply another attempt to avoid, obfuscate, evade responsibility for the actions that violate institutional neutrality and academic freedom. Second, on November 13th, the Indiana Commission for Higher Education dramatically changed the procedures universities must undertake in applying for new degrees. This is going on right now as we speak. Due to the program mergers required by HEA 1001, IU is in the process of applying for a flurry of degrees. In addition to evaluating the strengths and capacity of each degree to build knowledge, IHE's new procedures require all university degrees to be evaluated on whether the proposed program cultivates civic responsibility and commitment to the core values of American society. Of course, none of those things are defined. The ambiguity of core values of American society is not merely a drafting oversight, it creates a mechanism for ideological gatekeeping. The requirement invites partisan interpretation and political interference in academic programs. Indeed, the restrictions of free inquiry itself contradicts fundamental American principles of intellectual freedom and open debate. Asking any degree program to be evaluated not only on its strengths of how it contributes to building knowledge, but on the commitment to an undefined, highly politicized, and possibly completely unrelated matter is a restriction against academic freedom. It is political overreach by a body that's been appointed by the governor in clear contradiction of the core principles of intellectual diversity that SEA202 demands of us. In response, we call for the following. As a sign of good faith, we call upon the IU administration to demonstrate its support of the Chicago principles by reversing recent actions that have violated academic freedom and institutional neutrality. These include rescinding the sanction of Professor Ben Robinson, rescinding the sanctions against the interim sanctions against Professor Adams, School of Social Work, ceasing its demands for the erasure of the terms diversity, equity, and inclusion from unit websites, and working closely with faculty and state legislators to craft new laws in the coming session that could moderate the most harmful provisions of HEA 1001. Second, the Chicago principles end with a call for protecting academic freedom when it is threatened. The university has a solemn responsibility not only to promote a lively and fearless freedom of debate, but also to protect that freedom when others attempt to restrict it. This new requirement to declare commitment to core values of American society, an undefined concept, is a threat to our academic freedom and the integrity of our mission as a public institution for higher learning. It has a chilling effect on free speech, and if enforced, will be violating the First Amendment. Adding ideological purity tests to programs will weaken the power of universities to graduate students ready for the challenges of the 21st century, and therefore has no place in the vetting process that ITCHE oversees. We call upon IU to defend our academic freedom and integrity by challenging the legality and academic value of these recent ITCHE changes. Finally, the adoption of the Chicago principles presents a significant opportunity for IU to rebuild trust with its faculty, trust that's sorely lacking, unfortunately, and reaffirm its commitment to the core mission of higher education. However, principles without follow-through are hollow promises. So we stand ready to work collaboratively with the administration to defend our institution's academic integrity against external threats, including the new ITCHE requirements, and to restore the culture of free inquiry that has long distinguished IU. We must act together to protect not only our own academic freedom, but the intellectual vitality of this university for all the students, scholars, and workers who we are in community with, including those who come after us. Signed on behalf of the IUB AAUP Executive Committee. Thank you.
I'm Debbie Cohn. I'm faculty in the Department of Spanish and Portuguese, and I want to thank you for letting me share some of my thoughts with you today. And I'm reading to you part of a letter that I wrote to the Indiana Commission for Higher Education, which the Chicago Tribune called this summer would be better known as the Indiana Commission for Gutting Higher Education. I wrote this letter to them last week, raising massive red flags about the new requirement. I won't go into detail here, but I pointed out in my letter a lack of transparency and accuracy in the Commission's websites regarding the changes. I asked them to share details on timing, process, and who approved the new requirement. I also made the point that this requirement was only disclosed and perhaps even made in mid-November, at which point faculty around the state had already been working for 4 months on proposals for new degree programs in the aftermath of last April's budget bill. I raised the point that the new requirement was given privileged status within the proposal. In short, it was inserted into the number 2 spot of a section of the template that had already asked for information on 13 specific criteria. In other words, its inclusion pushed all of the other criteria down the list. And from here on out, I'm just going to read from the letter. This placement preempts multiple other requirements that are there because they are required under Indiana code or because they reflect high impact practices, speak to career readiness, transferable skills, and other long-standing priorities for ICHE and higher education in general. Can you please explain how you justify including this newly introduced and highly subjective category into this process? Also, can you explain what weight you will be affording to this requirement in your evaluation of the proposals? My second set of questions focuses on what constitutes civic responsibility and commitment to the core values of American society, and crucially, who gets to define these core values. I also hope that you will explain how ICHE plans to avoid turning this category into an ideological litmus test for all new degree proposals in the state, a crucial issue given that hundreds of degree programs are being dismantled under SEA201, and public colleges and universities are working to develop new ones using this proposal that will meet the new criteria. What counts as core values of American society is a fraught and subjective topic. Since the founding of the U.S., presumptive ideas of American values have been used to exclude different racial, ethnic, gender, national, religious, and other groups from numerous educational, professional, social, and other opportunities. Indeed, in this state and over the past year alone, some of the highest state officials have taken actions and made statements that seem to reflect a very limited view of who and what might be included in these core values of American society. To give but two examples, Lieutenant Governor Micah Beckwith called the 3/5 compromise a great move, and his office is currently under investigation for its frat house environment, which included staff members watching and laughing about a digitally altered topless video of the wife of a Republican state lawmaker. Second, State Attorney General Todd Rokita has a come and take it flag in his office, which has been flown at the U.S. Capitol during the January 6th insurrection and used by groups with an anti-Mexican and anti-immigrant views, and which was decried by the co-founder of the Alliance for Latino Migrant Advocacy as very harmful rhetoric. Moreover, Rokita further used the flag to insult both the LGBTQ+ community and members of the opposing political party. On April Fool's Day, responding to criticism of the flag in his office, he posted two pictures of himself, one with the pride flag and then one with the come and take it flag, along with the caption, "The left wins, they have finally brainwashed me. I am taking down our come and take it flag and replacing it with this one, the pride flag." And then April Fools, anybody wants references, I can give them. I held back in the letter on the point that Dr. Katie Jenner, the new chair of ICHE, who spearheaded last year's high school diploma reform that will hold the next generations of Hoosiers back for years, she opened the latest Dr. Jenner's Weekly Update, a, quote, weekly publication from the Indiana Department of Education containing agency-wide updates and guidance for school leaders and stakeholders, end quote, with the following statement. There's a Bible verse that hangs on my wall, and I look to it frequently for inspiration. Don't worry about anything, instead pray about everything. Tell God what you need and all that you're thankful for, and the peace of God will guard your heart and your mind. End quote. She has every right to hold fast to her beliefs, but a public official in charge of public education in the state opening the state's Department of Education's newsletter in this way strikes me as somewhat less than fully inclusive. Back to my letter. In this context, then, it is extremely important for your committee to be transparent and define both what you mean by the core values of American society and exactly what role and weight this criterion will play in the evaluation of new degree proposals, especially, again, since you seem to have prioritized it by placing this new criterion above other legally required and educationally justified criteria. I look forward to hearing back from you on these matters, but I'm not holding my breath. So, thank you. And if anybody wants IDS buttons, I've got them.
My apologies for not introducing you, Debbie. I'm very, very happy with the work you've done. I'm very proud of that. Okay, so we'll have Professor Jessica Adams will be speaking. I'll let you hear from her on what she faced. I just want to commend her on her bravery in going through all this and everything that she's gone through. Let's give it up.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me speak today at this event. I did just mostly want to offer an update for folks since the press conference that we held on November 7th. I wanted to let you know that I was returned to my classroom, which I was very excited to be back. However, after being gone for 6 weeks, I basically only had time to wrap up the very tail end of the semester with my students, but I was happy to be back nonetheless. But I was not returned to the classroom without a sanction. I was given a common sanction, which is a letter of reprimand, and within that common sanction, it contained many stipulations that I will need to abide by moving forward. One of them is a very high level of monitoring. Currently, I have had someone, I call it babysitting for lack of a better word. You can call it monitoring, but I've had someone in all of the courses that I teach, monitoring my teaching, not just the course where the complaint originated. So that's been very upsetting, very humiliating. And so there are a few other stipulations, but so far that has felt the most, intrusive to my job and being able to perform the duties that I am asked to perform. But I did want to share that they did find me to be in violation of SEA202, despite the fact that I was teaching material well within the scope of my practice and discipline, which is social work, and well within the scope of the course that I was teaching. The particular module that I was teaching on was about structural racism. And again, I mentioned this in the press conference before, white supremacy is the primary ideology that emboldens racist behavior within the United States, and it is highly connected to the materials that I was asked to teach about. And the gentleman right here has an example of the graphic that I showed. If you would like to take a look at the materials that I was using that day. So they found me to be in violation of SEA202. They said that I did take a personal, ideological, and political standpoint for teaching this material. And I'd again like to reiterate that social work is not a value-neutral profession. It is not a politically neutral profession. The profession of social work has particular mission, vision, goals, values, ethics that we are trying to accomplish, and eliminating racism and white supremacy is one of them. And so I was, thank you. I was accused of trying to indoctrinate my students into my personal ideologies, and that is not the case. While I do find myself to be very closely aligned with the profession of social work, hence why I work in the profession and why I teach in the discipline, I was teaching the ideological views and standpoints of the profession, which the scope of the class specifically asked me to do. There was also criticism and critique of my teaching tool, saying that it was not a sound pedagogical tool, that it was out of date, that it was not evidence-based. And I would invite all of you to take a look, and you can determine for yourself if you feel that it is outdated, if you feel that it is not evidence-based. I fundamentally disagree with those claims, but essentially that was the argument that was lodged against me and why I was found to be in violation. So I will be moving forward with an appeal process. I feel that being found, guilty of being in violation of this legislation has infringed on my academic freedom. It has infringed on my freedom of speech, and it has impeded my abilities to be the instructor to my students that I would like to be. Part of what we're asked to do in higher education is present new ideas, challenge existing ideas, have difficult discussions around those ideas, And this piece of legislation that is supposed to encourage free inquiry essentially collapsed and shut down the opportunity for inquiry within my classroom. And so I think that this legislation is not being used to create those types of environments, but is being used to shut down ideological perspectives that people do not like or they feel uncomfortable talking about. And so yes, I will be moving forward with an appeal and hoping that that will be successful. But I think that's all I have to share by way of an update. I can definitely be available afterward for questions. But I think maybe another speaker is coming along. So, okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jessica. Frankly, having looked at the triangle diagram, I gotta say, I think it is one of the best. I've been involved in this area of teaching for over 30 years myself, and I gotta say, I think that is one of the best representations of acceptable and unacceptable racism that I've ever seen. So, congratulations. Well, we have next President of the Monroe County NAACP, President Jim Sims, who is not only just a valiant advocate for civil rights in our community and a strong voice, but he's also a very flexible man, because I invited him to come and talk to us today. Yesterday I invited him, so I can testify to his flexibility. We're very thankful he's here today. Jim.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Yes. How are we doing today? Yes. I know this is serious stuff, but how are we doing today? Yes. Okay. All right. As Russ said, my name is Jim Sims. First, and I will be fairly brief, but one thing I do want to say is that myself, my wife, and my 2 children, we're all graduates of Indiana University. I won't so much speak about academic freedoms. We support those and we understand what's going on. I'll speak a little bit on the redistricting situation up at the State House. Before I get into that, many of you don't know, Russ mentioned, I am president of the Monroe County NAACP. We are a nonpartisan group, but we damn sure ain't apolitical. Okay? I have also served 2 terms on Bloomington City Council in another life, those of you that may remember that. But what I want to speak to you today about, and please, I hope that you hear me. The first thing that I want to say is a quote from the great Maya Angelou. And she says, "We are more alike than we are unalike." Let that soak in. We are more alike than we are unalike. My next question is this democracy, is this what you want to see in democracy? No! Those are important questions. I said I'd talk about the redistricting. Many of us know about the redistricting that they said they was going to do. They didn't have enough votes. They said, we'll pause it and come back later. Then they come back real quick to hold a vote. I don't know which way it's going to go. We worked hard to contact our elected officials, our legislators, House representatives, senators. We've worked hard, and many of you have too. I think, or I hope, that we will not do a midterm redistricting. Not only is it seems to me to be illegal, we just did this several years ago.
Right.
We'll do it again in 5 years from now. It just don't seem right. It seems fundamentally wrong. However, I will implore on you all to please contact your elected representatives now and let them know how you feel. Hopefully it is, we do not want to redistrict at this time. I gotta say, this is one of the most blatant acts of racism that I have ever seen in my life. And I know I'm fairly young, but I've not seen this. You know what the real serious part of this is that if it is enacted, it will become part of institutionalized racism that's going to take years for us to undo, if we can do that. It makes no sense to me, as the governor says, we want to make things fair. They got 7 out of 9.
Right.
How much fair? Do you want 9 out of 9?
Yes.
We want to take the little Democratic districts and slice them into like fourths. So that what that does is minimizes your voices. And I want everyone to understand that. This is serious, serious business. We could have picked one of 15 or 16 topics to talk about today. From the Indiana University level, to the state level, to the federal level. So there's a lot of things we can talk about today. I chose this because I think it's right at the doorstep of where we are, and it's important to do that. Now, I said I would be brief, and I promise you, but here's what I want to leave you with. In the Constitution, 5th Amendment, I believe, and I may take this a little bit out of context, but it gives you the right to remain silent. What I'm telling you, that to remain silent is not right. Thank you.
Right on.
Thanks, Russ.
Thank you very much, Jim. So now we've got a little bit of time. We are going to have a truly interactive rally here. What we're going to do is we're going to do a pair share, we call it in the business, where you turn to the person next to you and take 2 minutes to describe what you feel the core American values are. What are our core American values? And then after about 2 minutes of that, I'll have volunteers come up to the mic and speak what they had decided are the core American values, okay? You got 2 minutes.
What do you want to say?
Person next to you.
Taking on a new, well, not a new idea. Coming back to mean what it should. Quit saying you want to be for a while because people forget that. Yes, we're not just replacing the connection. But now it's coming back and people understand something. That's what we want to say. We've got so many values. It just blows my mind how people stay out and say, this
When it was pointed out to them, this is racial gerrymandering. It's like,
that's where you lose. That's where you lose. And it's not like this will be a semester or the rest of the year. This. Sure.
Okay, 2 minutes are up. I'm assuming we got some great American values. I think Chris Sappier is going to start us off with what he and his partner found out, or that sounds wrong. He and his temporary partner. That sounds even worse. Okay, he's going to talk about American values.
So an American value is welcoming strangers.
Civil disobedience is an American value. Hey,
Hey y'all, Joe Varga, Labor Studies from the School of Social Work, where Jessica teaches. I just wanted to add that the faculty, not the administration of the School of Social Work, are fully behind Jessica, and we're fighting like hell for her to get her justice and due process, which are American values. But my favorite American value is revolt against tyranny. That's what we were based on. That's the founding of this country. When your rights are violated, you don't just have the right to revolt against it, you have a duty and an obligation to revolt against it. Thanks.
Yes.
All right.
Others. Pursuit of truth.
Woo! Others?
Come on. Line up.
Come on, line up.
Yes, let's line up.
Line up.
Know history and stop letting it repeat itself.
Religious pluralism. Freedom of religion, freedom from religion.
Knowing what actually happened. And knowing what's actually going on. Healthcare is a right, not a privilege.
Freedom in general, what could be more American than that? Freedom to speak, freedom to learn, freedom to revolt, all the freedoms.
Checks and balances, no one person being more powerful.
Eat the mic.
Checks and balances, no one person being more powerful than anyone else. Freedom of thought, freedom to protest.
Okay, well, thank you so much to everyone for listing out those freedoms. It's really important. And that's what we got to keep our eye on. Keep our eye on the prize of our freedoms and in defense of our democracy. There are things that you can do moving forward. On 8:30 on Monday morning at the State House, there will be a rally from indivisible and mad voters about the redistricting. Please make your way up there. Also, we need, the legislature is trying to make it as hard as possible to get testimony on the redistricting that will be going to the Senate. So they have cut off the capability to register to speak online. You have to get up there at 8:30 on Monday morning to even sign up to give testimony. So we need as many people to get up there as possible and say, sorry, that is not going to work. We are still going to come and speak out. So please go up to the State House, especially student voices would be just fabulous. I think it's something that is really well respected. Even on the other side of the aisle, it's well respected. So please consider going up there on Monday morning. If you are a faculty member, please join AAUP. We have been growing at a phenomenal rate. We are now in Bloomington. We are the fastest growing chapter of AAUP in the country. And I want to thank our president, David McDonald, for that. He has done a phenomenal job in helping us move towards that goal. Letters to the editor. I know it's tough to think about an op-ed. Op-eds are hard, but the letter to the editor is 125 words. You guys do 125 words every day, whether you're a student or a faculty. My God, you can do 125 words while you're eating breakfast, for God's sake. So write letters to the editor about the loss of freedom that this ruling from Itchy has, about the Principals Compact, about redistricting, about any other topic and there are many that have violated our freedoms in this country. Make your voice heard. Thank you so much for coming out today. And Joe wants to say last word.
Also, the workers at this Starbucks store are on an unfair labor practice strike all next week, 8 to 12. Come out and walk the picket line with them, even if it's just for 10 minutes. This is one of the biggest corporations in the world with billions of dollars in profits, and they refuse to negotiate with these workers. So, no Starbucks, no peace.
I want to give an update talking about the bill. So, you know, the redistricting bill did pass out of the House very easily today. And Russ said that testimony would happen in the Senate on Monday. I don't see that on the in.gov site that they're going to take testimony. However, the Senate will come together at 1:30 and
No,
it's not showing.
supposedly, watch for updates.
Yes.
What I have heard is that it will be in front of the Elections Committee in the Senate chamber at 1:30 on Monday. But that you need to go up there and sign up. Just watch. The Capitol Chronicle is a great place to get information on that. But please, let's all stand together and show solidarity.
Amen.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Have a great afternoon and great holiday.
Thank you, my man.
Can I say something?
Yeah. Step up.
I have total fear of speaking in front of crowds, but I feel that this needs to be said. America was founded on patriarchy, racism, and exploitation. It needs to stop. There are three companies that basically control 90% of the corporations in the world that are exploiting us now. Vanguard, BlackRock, State Street. Please look it up. It is terrifying. It shook me to my core when I found this out. It makes it seem so untenable. It seems so hopeless. It seems like we can never get out of this cycle of exploitation, racism, sexism, ableism, otherism. We are all human beings. We outnumber them. We have to take control. Capitalism, patriarchy, they are dying, they are in the death rows, that's why they are fighting us so hard. Please fight back. I am a nuisance to all my friends and family daily, trying to inform them, trying to inform myself, trying to spread this message. And I thought since I've got 20 people here that I can spread the message to, maybe you can help me spread it. Vanguard, BlackRock, State Street. They are evil. Crush them. Drink water, not Pepsi or Coke. They own them both. Everything that seems like their competitors, they own them all. It is a mega monopoly. This started in the 80s with Reagan. It hasn't always been this way. We can tax the rich and stop this shit. Thank you.